we didn't plan this. I love it when we accidentally match.
Perhaps we should have like a clothes meeting beforehand, or
No, no, I like it. I like it brings good vibes. Like we've got our hair half up, half
we
down.
have.
I should have worn my glasses.
And have you got orange? I'm pink and then orange.
It's
Have I got
red. It's like
proper?
a
Ah,
red.
okay.
Yeah, but I forgot to put earrings on today as well. Um, so how are you, Emma?
I'm
You
all
good?
right. I will say, we'll give it a mo as always, but
Hmm.
because I scheduled this for 11:30, so obviously the hordes of people planning to
Oh
join
yeah.
us,
Oh gosh. Yeah. We're
they'll all be
suddenly.
here at 11:30. Especially
we're
since I only scheduled it about an hour ago. So all those people who saw it.
Oh, we're just keeping you on your toes, guys. So keeping you on your toes.
Always be ready. Anyone watching this, just at any time, be prepared that Kirstin and I could go live.
I mean, put two undiagnosed ADHD perimenopausal women together, and this is what you get.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, and for the record, to be fair, I mean, I'm probably going to cut this little introduction off. I'll leave a bit so people know what's going on. In admin related things, next week will be a Tuesday because it's World Book Week. Is
Oh
that right?
yes,
Is that what we said?
yes. I think so. I need to put it
Yeah.
in my diary. So yes, and
Yeah.
we shall be talking about World Book Week next week
Yeah.
because I think that would be a very topical conversation.
Yeah.
To
Again,
have.
everybody just be ready for the moment where we both go, oh God, are we going live now? Was it now? Is it later? Don't know. But yeah, it won't be Monday next week. It is normally at some point on a Monday morning, although the time changes when we go live. So depending on what we've got on. Shall we both get into it? Are you ready to go?
I'm ready.
To do an official
I'm
start?
ready. Yep.
Okay. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Spines and Headlines, unfiltered book news from indie authors. Do you like my professional?
I love
trying. I am Emma Rosen, children's author, and a bit of non-fiction in there as well. And I'm joined by.
I'm Kirstin McNeil. I'm a children's author and publisher.
Awesome. And we've got lots to talk to you about today. Let's start off, as always, with our word of the week. Do you want to go first or shall I?
I will go first. My word of the week. I feel like my word of the week has been quite negative over the past couple of weeks. I've been a bit of a neggy. So I was thinking, but I didn't have to think hard because actually my word of the week is exciting. And the reason why my word of the week is exciting is because I was on a call. So I'm part of the London Writers Salon. It's usually it's really great. I think I've spoken to you on this podcast before about it. It's basically a free resource and a paid resource. So the free resource is you've got 4 opportunities per day to join a live call for an hour where other writers join the call. You have a little bit of chat at the beginning, and then everybody goes on mute and they all write on the Zoom call. It sounds bonkers, but it really helps with accountability. It really helps with, community. Every Wednesday, there's an opportunity to chat afterwards, which is really lovely. And if you are a paid member, which I am, I was experimenting with it at the beginning of the year, you can join forums. So I'm part of the Children's Book Forum. I'm part of the ND Forum. I'm part of a few of these forums. There's no limit. And they meet monthly. And so there was like a monthly call last week, and I joined, and it was for the children's book authors, and we were just chatting. There were only 3 of us that joined, and we were just chatting, and I ended up starting to tell this story, and I don't know how we got onto it. We were talking about our favorite books, and I started telling this story that actually happened to my auntie, and they were like, "That's an excellent children's book idea," and I was like, "Oh, I think so too. Right. I'm going to write that. I'm going to write that children's book." And I love this about writing. I love this about, especially poetry. You can kind of just go, okay, I'm going to write something, and I'm going to write it. And I wrote some things down, and then I know my process is very much write things down, keep things in notes, And then when your brain has a bit of a creative moment, when your brain has a rest, when you go for a walk or when you go and see something inspiring, things will come to you, and sort of this story is going to build. I really love this part.
Mm.
I love ideation, I love creation, I love this part of being an author where a new idea comes to you, you got some validation of the idea, and you can like you can build it and you can feel it building, and you can, and I'm talking to my kids about it and they're giving me ideas, and it's just this magical part of writing that's kind of like only, it's like a secret, like you only you know about this happening, and certain people, and of course Emma, you're going to text me and I'm going to tell you all about it.
I get the insider knowledge.
But it's, I think it's exactly what I needed. It's really difficult, as I've said on many podcasts before, balancing being a professional in a completely different environment, work, being a parent, having other things in your life, and balancing that with the creative side of you. And it is just, it's almost like a beacon of light having this like spark, because it gets you through everything else. And not that I hate my job, I absolutely love my job, but like getting having that other thing, and having that, I guess I needed something that wasn't
Mm.
just the publishing side of this career.
Mm.
You know, a lot of my words of the week has been based on, you know, organizing things and book sales and launches, and it's just such a lovely reminder of, you're a writer and you can ignore some of that sometimes and just sit down and write, and it's just given me this such energy, as you can see, and excitement, and it just could not have come at a better time.
That's so lovely, and I love that feeling as well. That sort of starter project before any of the worries
Mm,
or the figuring things out hit, and it's
yeah.
just that raw kind of, oh, I'm going to do a thing. It's brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. So expect lots of voice notes later.
Can't wait. Um, yeah, well, I'll be the slightly more negative one, only a margin. Um, my word of the week is balance, and that's because it's just been half term. So I the confusion about when today's live was going up is because I'm still sorting my life out, and I actually had a video on my YouTube channel going live on Saturday
I just
about
saw
that.
that.
Yeah, it was just felt like the right time to talk about that balance between writing and being a parent. And I think there will be a lot of authors who are either parents or who have caring responsibilities of some kind. And unlike balancing writing with, let's say, another job, which is also very common, at least with that other job, that's sort of a scheduled, I know
Mm,
what time I have to do the things. But with a caring role, you are sort of on call all the time. The unexpected happens all the time. And it can be very difficult to gear shift as well, I think.
mm,
So I did put a video up about it and sort of reflecting on how that's looked for me at different stages, because right now I have two teenagers and an 8-year old. So that looks different to when they were little, when I started out doing this. Um, but all of that is to say, really, over the last week, each day I've probably only done an hour, maybe two, of writing related stuff, with the exception of Tuesday when my husband had the kids for the day and I got a few other things done. But often we're in this position of knowing that whether it's a school holiday or something coming up that's going to interrupt our workflow, having to be prepared. And also, of course, you could have that thing where a kid is off sick or like things happen. So just always being a step ahead all of the time. And then when the thing has happened, then having to go, right, where were we? Let's get back on top of things. So it's just often for a lot of us a balancing act. Um, for instance, for myself, I don't ever schedule any days off. I would love to do that.
mm.
So obviously, I have days off because my kids are off and I have to look after them. But to actually go, do you know what? I'm going to have a day off and I'm going to watch a film and I'm going to, I don't know, what do people do on the days off? I don't know. I don't remember. But I
I,
won't
I
grumble,
like the
Kirstin.
I like the concept of I don't know if you have done the artist way, but I've done and failed the artist way many times. I think you do have to fail the artist way before you succeed in it. Every failure is a success for me, and I I I love the concept of the artist date, the creative date, that you basically take yourself somewhere with the pure mission to live creatively for a bit. And that can be going to a museum by yourself, that can be going to the cinema by yourself, that could be going to a thrift store and just giving yourself a £5 budget and buying something. Or just going to a place that's inspirational to you creatively. And there's a sense of like breathing in and breathing out. You know, the morning pages are breathing out, and the creative dates are the artist dates are breathing in. And so if you're saying
Yes.
that you need one, I think you do need one.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen for Emma.
It's that difficult thing. Again, I know I'm speaking from a place of privilege here. And somebody said in the comments, it's called being a parent. Yeah, yeah. Being a
Yeah,
parent,
that's what we're talking
obviously,
about.
yeah, like I could be up all night dealing with whatever and with from the kids, and then obviously still then getting back into work. And I knew that when I became a parent. And I
Hmm.
appreciate that being able to work as a writer and balance that with children, I appreciate it's a huge privilege. However, creative work does require a certain amount of brain space that's really hard
Mm,
to achieve. And being self-employed is dependent on you actually having time to dedicate to being self-employed, because it's not like going into a workplace and having that self-employment honored by those around you to sort of understand that that time you're at work. um and again, like being able to factor in, for example, as a teacher, if I was sick, I would call in sick and I wouldn't go to work. If it's a
yep,
writing day, I'm still going to work.
yep.
So
And also, you're always a parent, so you can't really call in
exactly.
sick being a parent unless you're really sick. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's it's really interesting how you want to be present for your kids as well. And I think that's one of the reasons why balance is your word, is because
Mm.
like I had half term off as well. I was actually working my paid job an hour and a half a day because someone was off, so I needed to keep it going. Um, but I really enjoyed having that, being present for my kids and having that time with my kids. You forget like how much the time goes though, and how exhausted you are at the end of the day, because
Yeah.
it's a different kind of cognitive load.
Yes.
And having that time carved out, which is why I do really enjoy being part of other forums and having that
Mm.
commitment. So for example, going back to my word for a second, that book idea, I'm now incentivized to write some sort of crappy draft because I have a critique group that meets every month, and it's meeting next week, and we submit at the end of this week. So I'm like, there's I've got to find the time to
Mm.
make some sort of draft. It doesn't matter how rubbish it is, but I'll miss that slot if I don't do
Mm.
something this week. And I really value the opinion of this group of people. They're a mixture of authors and illustrators. And maybe in the future we can talk about crit groups and things like that,
Yeah.
and different things you can do as a writer to create that space that you need. And I think another thing, ironically as well, is part of why I had that inspiration is because I was off and I did
Mm.
have a bit more time to sort of have a headspace, and I was taking a bit of a slower week. But sometimes you have to balance that with work, and most of the times you have to balance that with work. So
Yeah.
it is tough. I'm feeling your
Yeah.
pain.
Yeah. It is. It's difficult. And it's, I love my kids and I love spending time with my kids. And it's great having the opportunity to be the parent that's at home. My husband has to go to work.
Mm,
So, it's wonderful. And it's wonderful that I get to do this job that can be flexible and that is wonderful. I love being a writer.
mm,
But yeah, I think you can still acknowledge that it's difficult. As I say, the gear change is difficult. The anxiety around should I be doing something,
mm.
and the sort of constant like brain activity. So I think it's just worth acknowledging, really. But yeah, that's very much been my week. and now I'm going to get back into like publisher Emma mode, because I have
Mm,
got some stuff coming up which I will tell you about another
nice.
day.
Oh, exciting. We're gonna be chatting a lot in the WhatsApp group. Um,
Absolutely. You're leading today.
I am, yeah. So as promised, this week we are talking about festivals, book festivals, literary festivals. So there are actually two types of festivals that I want to cover. One is the festival that you might go with your children or yourself, or where you get to meet authors. There's talks of ranging for different age groups. There's book signings. There's different events that you can be involved in, and typically the majority of these are during the summer, because they tend to be sort of taking advantage of the lovely warmer weather we have here in the UK. But there are also some specific literary festivals that are evolving throughout the world as well. I mean, our experience is going to be UK focused for this, but I would be really interested to hear about other festivals that are popping up across the world. I know that there's a pretty big one in Dubai that happens at the beginning of February. That is growing, and a lot of UK-based authors are going over there. So that's been an interesting evolution over the past 5 years, 6 years now that I've been an author. The other festival is the sort of industry-based festival that I didn't know about before I became an author, obviously, but also I kind of started to understand the importance of these, and how they differ if you're an independent author versus if you are a traditionally published author. And those are sort of I'm just going to call them book industry, publishing industry festivals. So I'm going to cover that first quickly, and then move on to the wider festivals. And it's really interesting how you said in our chat that you've never been to an industry festival, and I'd like to understand why in the future. Like,
It was a lie. I've
because
realised,
I
but
was
carry
like,
on.
hang on a minute, have you not been to London Book Fair?
I haven't, no, but yeah.
So in publishing, there are in the diary, there's London Book Fair, which happens in March, and it's in London, and it's in the Olympia, and it is just for the publishing industry, so it's not open to the public, but it is open to anyone that wants to buy a ticket, including indie authors. And then there's Bologna Festival, which happens, I think, at the end of March. So following on from London Book Fair, there's Bologna, which is in Bologna in Italy. And those are the two main ones that I'm going to talk about. And then there's also in June, there is the Self-Publishing Industry Festival, which is, I think, 3 days or a whole week. It's growing and growing. And that's based in London as well. I'm really only aware of these ones, but I think they're important ones to know. So the London Book Fair is basically the opportunity for people in the publishing industry to, one, get a view of where the industry is heading. So there's talks about trends. So there'll be talks about AI, there'll be talks about Amazon, there'll be talks about like general publishing trends, about inclusivity. There's loads and loads of talks throughout those 3 days. But it's also an opportunity to meet with your agent, to meet with your publisher, and talk about translation rights, and talk about, where are you heading, and where's your career heading. So it's like a major milestone in a publishing industry, a traditional publishing industry calendar, to really attend and go to meetings. So I've been a couple of times, and it's very overwhelming. You kind of need those like loop earplugs, not sponsored, other earplugs are available. But you kind of need those earplugs, because it is basically hundreds and hundreds of people in a massive conference room, like basically talking about the industry. On the ground floor, there's this massive space for meetings, which publishers and agents will then book up with their authors and illustrators. Then also on the ground floor, there's like areas of talks, and then there's a translation section where there's people who've got stalls to talk about translation, and rights. There's so much going on. And then usually on the upper floors in the Olympia, there's the author hub, the author area. And that has, over the last few years, it has been more focused towards indie authors, and self-published authors, which is, I think, is a brilliant thing that they've done. And usually in one of the days, yes, we're talking about the London Book Fair. Usually one of the days was typically more focused on indie authors, but I think they've basically expanded it. So any day you go, there's going to be a focus on self-publishing. There's talks on self-publishing. There's, all of like Ingram Spark and Amazon and KDP and Audible. They all have booths up there so that they can talk to authors, and that's, I think, something that I wasn't really aware of until I got nominated for the selfies and got a free ticket. And so went and then realized that, all of this stuff. So why would you go to that? There is a specific area for authors which does make you want to go effectively, and if you are an author who's starting out and you want to know more, you want to actually talk to someone at KDP, you want to actually talk to someone at Ingram Spark, you can do that. You can have that. And I'm one of those people who hates having email exchanges and really wants to just have a conversation with someone. I'll give you an example. The Audible guy. So I was there last year or the year before. I think it was the year before, and the Audible guys were there, and I was super early, and I went straight because I'd been there before. I wasn't really interested in looking at all the It's quite a good one to sort of browse all the publishers' stalls, because you can see what trends there are and what books are coming up, and you can have a conversation about the trends in the industry, and that's quite good. That's a good opportunity. So I did a bit of that, and then the Audible guys were there, and I said, guys, you need to have an option where I can like mark which ones are kids ones, because I share my profile with my son, and he's got Audible on the family iPad, and I don't want to share all of my grown-up books, just in case he accidentally thinks it's a kid's book, right? A lot of grown-up books have like cartoons on the front, right? And so after that, they actually introduced an option where you can mark something as a kid's book, and on the kids option one, you can, if you download the same app, you can say this is a kid's device, and it will only show kids stuff. So, like, just an example, people listen to conversations that you have there, and they actually might, do that suggestion. But it's also as an indie author, I've met tons of other authors there that we have a good chat. We've only followed each other on Instagram. We've never met in person, so it is also a good opportunity to meet. However, so is the self-publishing show. That's in June. That is where I would say, if you're an indie author, if I was going to put my money somewhere, it would be the self-publishing show. I've never been. It clashes with another festival a lot of the times where I have commitments, which I'll talk about in a second. Kirsty Watson's been quite a few times. She says it's absolutely a really, really good, great thing to go to. She's probably going to be on a panel by now, because she's really mature in terms of her career as an indie author. But that's the self-publishing show. And in the middle you've got Bologna, and Bologna is effectively where, like, you've had the London Book Fair where you've got some ideas about where you're going to go, and if you're a traditionally published author or illustrator, where you're going to go, what the plan is, what the trends are in the industry. You've gone to a few talks, you've spoken to your agent. And then Bologna is really where your portfolio is showcased. So if you're an illustrator, for example, and you've got a portfolio, your agent will help you put that portfolio in front of people at Bologna. And so I feel like the Bologna is still very much focused 100% towards the traditional publishing market. And if I was an indie illustrator, I would be looking at ways in which to find out how to sort of get myself into that conversation, because I think it's still a very much closed conversation to self-publishing compared to London Book Fair, where they've acknowledged that there is a market for authors that want to self-publish, and obviously the self-publishing show. So that's the market, publishing market, internal facing festivals. You said you didn't go to one, so which one did you go to?
So I haven't been to any of those. And what I will say, in line with what we were talking about earlier, is that part of the issue is financial.
Mm,
That, a lot of authors are either not making money or not making very much money. And when I've been going through phases where, I'm potentially costing my family money because I'm investing from savings, things like that. For example, London Book Fair, which I would love to go to, costs something like £70 for a ticket, plus then my train into
mm.
London, plus I would have to get childcare for my kids, so breakfast club, after school club. The last time I came into London for a book related thing where I met up with you, all my trains home were cancelled.
Oh God, you should have stayed.
Yeah,
We
no,
could
it
have
was a
been really
nightmare.
productive.
I had to get, luckily, I ended up in the wrong train station. It was the only way I could get home, and had to
Oh
get my
gosh.
best friend's husband to pick me up. It was a whole thing. Um, but, in terms of the money and the inconvenience, if I'm going saying, well, I'm running this really successful business and I need to go to meet this person to have that, this,
Mm,
that, whatever, that's a much easier conversation to have at home, rather than I'm going to make everyone's life really difficult and cost us a couple of £100
mm,
for this dream I'm chasing. Now, I'm not saying that anyone sees it that way, but it's difficult um to justify, really. So I think I've definitely had years where that's the case, and then also sometimes it's just a conflict. I would really like to go, and I haven't won the selfies yet or been nominated, Kirstin. So
But that's the thing. We were waiting to see if we were nominated for the selfies,
yeah,
because then you get a free ticket, which is
yeah,
also very, very good for one of the days.
yeah,
I guess what we're trying to say is do your research. This can be part of your research in terms of, you know, is it worth it? Do your research
yeah,
about if it's worth it. For me, I would say you do have to invest in your creative career at every year. And
yes,
whether that is an investment in a website, or whether that is an investment in coaching, or which Emma does, or whether that's investing in events like this, you
Mm,
do have to invest in it, and it's really up to you and your your position and where you are in this career in your business to decide how you want to invest in it.
mm,
I feel like I do want to go. I do think it will be good, and I think if I can make it work for the self-publishing show, I'd really really like to go this year. Um, and they're the kind of two industry based festivals, but I wouldn't go every year. I wouldn't say it's an investment for me that would be worthwhile every year. Which festival did you go to then, if it wasn't
right,
that?
yeah. So, well, what I was going to say is, so I've been to various trade festivals for other things, like, for
Mm,
example, the dive show in London.
mm.
But then it suddenly occurred to me, in a previous life, I actually worked in the print industry. So I
Ah,
worked for an ink manufacturer, and I worked sort of within marketing, sort of, but offering health and safety services. So, as part of sort of a buy-in or an incentive, if people were buying ink, they could also have the assistance of me and my department.
mm,
I wasn't in charge of the department; I very much was junior, just for the reference. But yeah, we could go in and we could do. Yeah, I managed hazardous waste, but we could do like COSH assessments and fire assessments and whatever they needed to support their business. So, as part of that, I visited huge numbers of print shops, which is funny now. Whenever I'm like, obviously, we work with printers,
mm.
and um, I wish I'd paid a bit more attention to some of the clients I was working with. But I went to print trade shows.
So you were
So
part of the supplier, like you
yeah,
were
well,
booth owner, or like
no,
part.
I went to visit them and to sort of network. I remember what I remember two. Um, Goodness knows it was a while ago. But it would be going along and seeing sort of what was going on, different kinds of print technologies and inks and this and that, and because
Mm,
things were moving over to digital printing. So it's for me, it's quite weird because obviously that's a slightly different facet of the industry rather than the publishing bit. The printing bit is different. But I wish I'd kind of paid more attention to what was going on, because obviously
Mm,
that applies to what I'm doing now. And actually, I would quite like at some point to reach out to the printer that we use and see whether I could go in and maybe make a video about
yeah.
it. Because I think I know that when I used to work in the industry, it's really interesting how they make books, and it's so hypnotic
Mm,
to watch them go through the machines and how they do the whole thing. Um, so yeah, it just occurred to me when I said no, I've never been to a trade fair. I actually have, and it was book related, but I mean, yeah, long time ago. But definitely interesting, and I think that's the point: is you can go and meet all of these different people working within whatever it is you're doing. So I was coming at it from a different angle, but go and find out like what's innovative,
mm,
meet people, have conversations, go, oh, right, so that's so and so company, and they're
yeah.
working on that. I see. And you sort of start to build a knowledge of what's going on. And like you said, having those useful conversations. So I definitely find from when I've gone before, and as I say, I've gone to ones to do with scuba diving,
Mm,
and they're brilliant to see what are people talking about, what's going on, go to the
yeah.
talks, what kind of new technology is there, what trends are there. So it's all this a similar kind of thing. So I definitely think worth going to. And I'm not sure that I can make London Book Fair this year, but I definitely need to make some space for it. I would really like to go.
I might do
Yeah.
my, shall I do my top tips for indie authors at London Book Fair, and then we can
Yes.
edit it out and put it on Instagram.
Go for it. Yes.
So here are my top tips for attending a book fair in the trade fair for as an indie author. So this is in particular my experience from London Book Fair. Firstly, take water because it is a long day. It's very overstimulating. So if you are overstimulated, take anything that can help counterbalance that, like earplugs, even the noise cancelling earphones. That's always really great. So take water, take provisions, take snacks. Secondly, have a clear understanding of why you're going. So you're investing money into this, and so don't just go without a plan. Um, Research which stalls are where, which would interest you, what talks are on, and acknowledge that you can't do everything everywhere. So my advice is look at the talks, choose 2 to 3 that you don't want to miss, and then leave the rest of it open, and sort of orientate yourself in the area in which you feel like you would be best suited. If you can attend early, it's worth queuing up because you do have a bit more time to like browse and get a general feel for, like I said, the what's happening in the industry, the trends that are coming up, and then you can orientate yourself as well because it's a massive place. The other thing is don't assume that you can just turn up and talk to people and pitch for your book. That's not what this is about. It's actually going to be counterproductive for you professionally, because if you meet someone in the coffee queue or something and go, "Oh, here's my book and this, and I'm pitching it,"
Mm.
they're there because they've had like 10 meetings, they've not had a break, and they just want to chill out. If you talk to someone, talk to them about you and connect with them about them and ask them questions, but don't be put off if someone just doesn't want to talk to you. This is not where you pitch your story. This is not where you try and find an agent. This is where you get, it's more of a like absorbing of what's happening in the industry and learning and connecting with mainly other indie authors. And if you do want to do that, I would position yourself in the area where the authors are going to be, and also just be curious. Like have the most curious mindset, ask questions, try not to sell yourself, and just sort of enjoy that physical human connection with other people who are in the same industry as you.
Yeah, good tips, really good tips. Yeah, and one of these days we will be there together. And all of you podcast listeners will be like, oh my God, is that Kirstin and Emma?
They're wearing pink together.
They make this a thing.
moving
Yeah, no,
moving
it's
on
very
to the
good.
more exciting element of book fairs, is book festivals. In
Yeah.
particular, children's book festivals. There's absolutely loads of festivals, literary festivals. There's obviously the big ones like Hay Festival, Edinburgh Festival, but there's also really, really regional ones. There's a bunch in Scotland, which is great. There's loads of different parts of Scotland, not just Edinburgh and Glasgow. There are a bunch in sort of the West Country. There's Bath Festival. There's Henley as well, which isn't quite west, but
Mm.
and there's also quite a lot in London and South London. But obviously, there will be localized festivals, not in particular literary focus. Maybe there's a family festival or a children's festival, and typically they probably will have an area to enjoy literature or meet authors, etc. Typically at literary festivals, it's a place to gather and to meet your author and to hear from your favorite author and to maybe introduce yourself to new authors, which I think is also really a really great opportunity. And so usually a big festival like Edinburgh Literary Festival, Hay Festival, they typically have planned events which is ticketed, and then they also have events sort of around the area which you can that are non-ticketed or sort of have stalls with people to visit, etc., etc. A really great example of a good literature festival for children is Barnes Kid Lit Fest. So Barnes Children's Literature Festival. It's in Barnes, which is in South London. It takes over the whole weekend. It's very, very easy to get around. A ton of things. Like they have a massive marquee, but they also have 6 other venues. So there's like 30 different authors that you can choose to go and see and hear from, who majority of which do signings afterwards, and it's all focused on children's literature, which is amazing. And also they have a free program, usually targeted towards like smaller children, where they have like storytelling or explorations around Barnes Green, where you can just sign up on the day and take your toddler to whilst your older child is going to a talk, for example. And these festivals are incredible because I volunteer at Barnes Literature Festival every year. I've been doing so for the past 4 years, and the vibe around these is unbelievable. Like the kids are just so excited to talk about their book. They're so excited. You talk about author visits at school.
Mm.
This is another level. This is
Mm.
like immersing your child into the world of literature. They always have the really great ones of when you've got, an author of a middle grade being in a marquee, but then in a church hall, there's a skateboard design workshop that's based on, a book, a comic strip or something, and it's just, or a graphic novel. And so the variety of different things is pretty awesome. I was on the ticket book booth last year, and it was so great to, like, someone would come up and say, do you have a ticket for this? And I'd say no, but if your child is into this, they'd be into this, they might like this author. So it's a really great opportunity for children to experience new authors, to find new authors, etc. And typically these type of festivals, they also really involve the local community, involve the independent bookshop, for example. I also did a talk at the this local summer festival that my council put on for um, for families that typically wouldn't be able to afford to go to a festival. And so it was a free festival that was targeted at lower income families. And they had, again, like loads of different things, including a reading area, including an author workshop, an author talk. And it was just really lovely to have that opportunity to again, reach out to children and get them excited about books. And so these festivals, like, what I would encourage as a parent, I would absolutely encourage to see what festivals are around in your area. As an author, you absolutely should be looking at how to be involved, whether that is part of their free program or part of their paid
Mm.
program or part of just the volunteering, because it's a big operation. And as selfishly as an author myself, I then get to, like, talk to other authors about, you've got these big red aprons on, and other authors will talk to you because you're part of the volunteer
Mhm.
team. And you also get to slip in and see how other authors do their thing and learn some things from it. Um, and the other thing about Barnes is that they also do a local schools program. So across London, from I think March, they have these schools programs where it's all school local schools that come to the festival. And they also have, in the 3 days leading up to Barnes public festival, they have that as well in Barnes, and it's just incredible to watch. It's an incredible give back to the community that they do. Typically, festivals tend to be non-profit, and I know that there has been some controversy around some of the sponsors of festivals of these, like Bailey Gifford was a big controversy a couple of years ago. It's really, really important that we support and go to and volunteer at these things,
Mm.
because they make such an impact, such a positive impact on children's lives. And it's such a wonderful thing to be part of.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think you have the big ones, like you said, and then you have the smaller local ones. And when there is a local um, book festival, I think as a bookish person, you really need to get involved, whether that's as a parent or as a reader or as an author, because these things only exist by people's participation in them.
Mm,
And it is a part of sort of community, really. If you get involved, if you go along, it supports it being there for the other people who are attending. And I've been to a few, both as a parent and also as an author, and they work in lots of different ways. For example, from an author's perspective, I've done some where it's sort of part of the free program, as you say, and
mm,
maybe I've got a stall, or maybe I get a 3-minute bit of talking on stage or something, but that's wonderful. I've also had paid, where I'm paid to run a workshop, which is amazing to be compensated, and that they're able to attract funding to do that and to recognize your input. I always think that's brilliant to be recognized in that way as a creative. Um, I was fortunate to be part of quite a big book festival, which is the Isle of Wight Story Festival,
yeah.
because that was a book launch. And the way that I managed to get such sort of a big book festival is because I work with Natural England, and they have the profile to be able to book an event. We ran 2 events at that festival, one of which there were so many families. It was crazy and brilliant. And another one which was much, much quieter, because there was a bigger name on at the same time as us. So,
Mm,
it is what it is. Overall, just my biggest takeaways from it is, as I say, make sure you go in some capacity. If you're starting out as an author, just go meet people, have
yeah.
conversations. And I agree, don't be like, hey, I'm this is my book, and I like, if people are within that industry, they don't want to hear it really. Just be a human being, but you're meeting colleagues essentially, and you're networking and figuring out, oh right, well they write that and they're there and
Mm,
they're publishing that way. Okay, so that's a person I could contact about this, and I could find them on social media, and oh, let's have a look at their book. And so I do think go along. So does Alexa, apparently. That behind me. Um, and I also think that for book festivals, that their engagement within the community, as you say, through schools or through offering things that do encourage more disadvantaged families, because I think I see at these events you get an awful lot of middle class,
yeah.
privileged parents
Yep.
who already can access a lot of this information and probably already have lots of books at home and go to book events and theatres and this, that, and the other. And what we want is to encourage reluctant readers or people who are new to this and make them feel that this is a space where they are welcome and they can discover something new. And so anything that's being done within the community to encourage people, I think it's lovely. For example, with the Isle of Wight Story Festival, because of the way the Isle of Wight is, if something's on, people go.
Yeah,
And
everybody
so there was
goes.
huge attendance. So I think where it's that kind of thing, like you've got a really engaged community. Oh,
Yeah,
let's go along and see what's occurring and what we fancy. You get a nice, diverse cross section of the community, and it just does such good work. So yeah, whether you're going as a parent, even if you think, oh, I've never really been to a book festival before and I'm not sure, like book a ticket to something,
yeah,
or just go and have a wander, see what it's about. Take your kids. I mean, whether it's a big, huge name author or not, kids get so much out of it. So book something you think they might like. And if you're an author, get involved. As you say, volunteer, contact them, say, how can I help? How can I get involved? And sometimes it is just, oh, well, you're part of the author showcase and maybe that's helpful for you and maybe it isn't, but you're part of the community and you meet people, or maybe you get a bigger profile. And for example, at the Isle of Wight Festival, I met Kes Gray on a panel and Nicholas Allen and a whole bunch of other authors, and Kes Gray asked me a question and I was like, oh my
mm.
God, you know,
Kes Gray's
but
so cool.
you meet these people, like these
Yeah,
famous people, and they're just people. They're just people. And then the mystique is taken away. And I think that's part of it for children. It's like, oh, that's just a person who did a thing. And I think that has huge, huge value. So yeah, we're big
I've
fans.
got to say, yeah, very similar to what I was saying about the industry festivals, the industry fairs. Go with curiosity and go to sort of be part of the industry. It's like such a big
Yeah,
part of
exactly.
being in publishing, and you will be so inspired, like just having,
Hmm.
even you're in a lot of queues for food and stuff, and just having conversations with parents and other kids, and
Yeah.
having I was volunteering on the Sunday as well, and Hunter came with me, and he was just chilling out reading a book for most of the time in a tree, and I managed to get him in to a couple of the sessions. There's such a great, I mean, I was a pretty cool mom that day, to be honest, because he was like, whoa, you got me into this, and
Yeah.
that was really cool. But like I would also say try and be consistent with it. So if you find out that there's a local festival near you, go every year,
Hmm.
because it is a really small world.
Hmm.
Typically, they get the same people every year because they know they're standard golden acorns. So, for example, typically in Barnes, Axel Scheffler has gone every single year. He turns
Hmm.
up on his bicycle. He doesn't have a phone. He then does an amazing hour, inspiration hour, and then he sits for 3.5 hours to 4 hours signing books.
Wow.
The queue is unbelievable. He will not leave until
Wow.
that queue is ended, and all he wants is a sandwich and some crisps. It's just, he's such an amazing
Oh,
guy.
what a guy.
I know, and I could probably do some more tales from Barnes a bit
Yeah.
later on. But like Rob Biddulph is usually there, Laura Ellen Anderson's usually there, MG Leno's usually there. But they also have a really good, because of the different size of venues, there's a really good way of like upcoming authors to really get their platform. They had MC Grammar in the main tent last year, and he was sold out, and that was pretty
Mm.
awesome. And just every year someone will recognize me and I'll recognize
Mm.
them, and we'll have
Mm.
like another conversation that's following on from the previous conversation we had a year ago. And
Mm.
even when I was like in the crate queue, one of the parents was like, oh, we came and saw you last like 3 years ago, how's the books going?
Wow.
And it's just really lovely to sort of
Yeah.
have that regular insight into the community. Just before we go,
Hmm.
a little bit of sort of championing libraries, because
Mm.
the smallest form of this is at your local library. It's very, very likely to be at your local library. It's very, very likely to be during half term, summer holidays, and around World Book Week.
Hmm.
So another, like, just please get to know your librarian.
Yeah.
speak to them, let them know that you're an author, let them know that you're willing to be part of, upcoming events. Even to do a regular story time once a month, or every few months, they would absolutely bite your hand off, because
Yeah.
it doesn't matter that you're not this hugely famous author. It matters that you want to be part of that industry and part of that community. Um,
Yeah.
being a local author and is I think it's an essential service as an author to
Yeah.
give back to your community through a library. And it's not a selling opportunity. Sometimes it does. A lot of the time, it does end up being a selling opportunity, but it's definitely one where you can be part of that. And if you do it regularly enough, they'll invite you to a festival, or they'll let you
Yeah.
know, oh, did you know that this neighboring borough is doing something? Because they'll be a lot more clued in. They do this day in, day out, every day. They're a lot more clued in as to what's going on in the local area. So if you have that good relationship with your librarian, they will come to you and say, okay, I've seen you at work. You're amazing. I love how you're engaging with the children. Would you be interested in, working with this library,
Yeah.
or going a bit further and working in this borough? And so that's basically how you make connections and how you get into the festival, industry. It
Yeah.
it doesn't just happen. Someone doesn't just email you and say, hey, Emma, would you like to join, Edinburgh Festival? And you're like, yeah,
Get it all
sure.
timed, Kirsten. I'm batting them away.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you do have
Yeah.
to work hard as an author. And I'm not just saying this from an indie perspective. Authors in the traditional publishing industry have agents that are trying hard to get them in,
Hmm.
to get them slots, etc. And I think as a indie author, we have more flexibility to actually have that connection from the ground up, and build that trust, and build that relationship. And I think more traditional authors should be doing it. To
Yeah.
be honest.
I think ultimately you have to have a giving attitude, because if you're always on the sell and always on the take, people get sick of you pretty quickly. It is a community. It is, if you're somebody that's seen as getting involved, interested, but you want to know about other people, you're sort of an engaged part rather than you're just there because you want to sell your books. You're far more likely to be successful and actually to enjoy it.
And
So,
you're more likely to make an impact. Just on
yeah.
your point about the middle class set, that this is
Mm.
something that does happen. Like, and this is something that typically, apart from Barnes and the Stories Festival and some other festivals that are really tailored to children's
Mhm.
literature, the majority of literary festivals are a literary festival for adults with an add-on for kids.
Yeah.
And they're not. I've not I've only been to a couple of them. And when I've been, I've found it very difficult to navigate as a parent, because you're kind of looking for where's the children's area.
Yeah.
And also, it's only, 10 versus 50 options. So
Yeah.
the tickets get bought up pretty quickly. And it's a different vibe. The vibe is very much literature, but it's very focused to the grown up um, adults that want to discuss and have that time. And so that's where library festivals during the holidays, and very localized, even a couple of days or a week or something, that's you actually get more out of that as a parent
Yeah.
and as an author than trying to get into Hay Festival as a
Mhm.
children's author. And typically also those are organized like months in advance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas the ones that are more localized, maybe in your local theatre, local library, or even a school might be doing something, they're typically organized within like a couple of months, 3 months. So that's
Yeah.
another way of just my opinion on, where to focus your time.
It's all really good points, and I think this is a conversation to come back to. There's so much to say, and I hope this has been really helpful to anyone listening or watching. I'm going to wrap up. I'm highly aware that my mum is incoming at some point. I've messaged her to say I'm live. Don't burst in and be like, "Hello."
Yes, we meant to
Um,
keep this short to half an hour, but we've got so much to say. We knew this would happen, Emma. Maybe next week we
upper
can we
limit.
can keep it short.
We said this podcast every week will be 15 minutes, snappy, and absolute maximum 30 minutes.
What do you think, guys? Should we cut down on the rambling?
Nah, next week it will be a 6-hour marathon. It won't be, because next week is World Book Week. So it will be the World Book Week special. Tuesday is my only day I'm not in a school, which is wonderful, but also I will probably be having a breakdown from overwhelm. So enjoy that. Kirstin will be in charge, because
I will. I'll run next week's one for you, Emma.
But yeah, we'll be talking about whatever's in the news and some World Book Week stuff. But
brilliant.
Yeah,
can't wait.
As always, you can catch back episodes, YouTube, Spotify. Let me know if you want it somewhere else. And yeah, we'll be live next Tuesday.
Brilliant. Thanks. Have a good week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.